Out of beautiful Mazatlán, the Mexican Ultimate scene has birthed yet another major tournament series, Delfino Maza. This event positioned elite talents like Sparg0 and MKLeo to do battle with home field advantage against world-class representatives like Gluttony from France, Japan's Gackt, and many, many more. Yet, somehow in spite of the stage that was set, it was Guatemala's #1 player, ShinyMark, that electrified us with their Cinderella run, showcasing a unique style of Pikachu play that reminded us all why we considered the character a contender for the best in Ultimate.
And that was it. Really a buzzer beater. ShinyMark playing it out as it should be with the pop-up.
The #1 Pikachu player across both Brawl and Smash 4, ESAM, carried the torch for the mouse in the early days of Smash Ultimate, preaching about how busted they were. And ESAM's results were not lacking. His aggressive Pikachu play led him to performances like 7th at Genesis 6 and 3rd at Guatemala 2019, as well as a number 16 ranking in the world. Despite these peaks early on, however, his results over time were actually quite inconsistent. With hard matchups like Peach, Game & Watch, and Olimar being extremely prevalent in 2019's metagame, and ESAM once again being the character's only representative, many questioned how good Pikachu actually was. ESAM continued to silence these doubters even still, with wins at Glitch 7 and Glitch 8.5, beating many of the strongest players in the world, including that era's #1 MKLeo. That Glitch 8.5 win in particular may have even led the North American community to feel like ESAM may have been right all along. And honestly, who could disagree? The shift to exclusive online gameplay endangered the survival of high execution characters in the meta.
About Pikachu is he still has T-Jolt and he has Quick Attack, and those two things definitely get buffed online. But everything else, every single other thing is worse about Pikachu.
We also saw the release of this fucking guy in late 2020. These issues, coupled with ESAM switching to a new controller in mid-2022,
Pikachu, cheater!
as well as Cosmos dropping the character, caused Pikachu's results and representatives to drop drastically outside of a few dedicated players. This drought in results, alongside the release of new characters and optimizations made by the community, caused Pikachu to plummet from a consensus top 5 character to a measly number 13 on the first official Ultimate tier list. Maybe the several years, or what feels like decades, of DLC breaking the game had taken its toll. With the results of the character falling off almost completely, the future of the Pikachu meta was looking bleak. That is, until Delfino Maza gave us a shining spark, or a ShinyMark. You see where I was going on that one? For those who aren't familiar with ShinyMark, he's been Guatemala's best player since Smash 4 and is currently the best player in Central America. Starting all the way back in 2016, ShinyMark has been seen as one of the best non-US players in North America who didn't get that many opportunities offline. As a Ryu main, they won practically every tournament within Guatemala throughout the lifespan of Smash 4, and in the online scene, he was just as strong. ShinyMark was an active competitor in the Twitch sub-tournament scene and was constantly in Top Cut, getting his name known among the community as one of the best Ryu players outright. Based on the consistency of his results and how many characters he's been able to do it with, on paper, ShinyMark has been a top player online for years. But without the offline results to back it up, ShinyMark was just seen as some Wi-Fi Ryu player that dominated a weak region. As Smash 4 ended and Smash Ultimate hit the shelves, ShinyMark reclaimed his place as one of the best Wi-Fi players in the world. Especially in the online era, it was basically a foregone conclusion that ShinyMark would place well in every online tournament they entered. The Central American scene was fairly active as well, especially with the release of a new title, and ShinyMark saw success even when facing the best of the best. Costa Rica's Jay was one of the only players to consistently beat him offline in Guatemala. Regardless of that in-region dominance, he still didn't get an opportunity to show himself on the game's biggest stage for nearly 5 years. It wasn't until the SWT Central America Ultimate Regional Finals in 2021 that ShinyMark got to show what his Pikachu was made of. He finished at 7th place, picking up wins over Andric, Alandis, and Nair, and while he didn't end up qualifying, it was still an amazing run to have at his first stacked offline event. It wouldn't be until nearly a year later that we got to see ShinyMark make his first major showcase at Mexico's Smash Factor 9. As the 24th seed, they went on one of the best runs of the weekend with wins over Big Boss, Siski, and Waka, which landed ShinyMark a respectable 5th place and his first exposure to the greater Smash Ultimate scene. In contrast to these breakout performances, we saw similar inconsistencies from ShinyMark like we did with ESAM, getting 65th at SmashCon 2022 7 days later. Pikachu's technical demands can make him a high variance character. Yes, Pikachu is very, very busted, but he's also one of the hardest characters to win with, especially at a major level. You can put him in that same class of characters, Peach or Fox or Joker, where they saw their results early on, but it was obvious the characters' meta had much more room to develop and their results would only continue to improve throughout Ultimate's lifespan. The aspects of Pikachu's gameplay that make them broken, bullying at the ledge, low profiles, out of shield game, and frame-tight touch-of-death advantage state, requires deep game knowledge to be utilized in the oppressive way it can be. When these strengths surface in the hands of a skilled pilot, Pika leaps ahead of other characters into that highest possible tier of absurdly strong base roster characters, like Sonic and Rob, that somehow dodged the Nintendo Nerf hammer throughout every patch of the game. At Collision 2023, ShinyMark pushed his game among the top of the Ultimate community. After an early Game 5 loss to the eventual 5th place finisher Lima, ShinyMark went on his best tournament run up to that point. He grabbed wins over Ned, Henry Luma, Andres FN, Shattuck, Peanut, Ling, and capped his runoff with a win over the Genesis champion MKLeo. Although the run was impressive, he ended up falling in top 8 to Meister's Game & Watch, a notable roadblock for ShinyMark and Pikachu in general, but this incredible run showed that ShinyMark was the real deal. Not only was it by far his greatest performance, it was Pikachu's best in years. After that run, ShinyMark had debatably cemented his claim as the best Pikachu player in the world. His next result was a 7th place at Smash Factor 10, another huge performance where he picked up wins on Bedgar, Shattuck, and Sho, losing 3-0 to Sparg0 and Meister. This streak had marked Pikachu's best back-to-back major performances since ESAM's 3rd at Glitch 8 into 4th at Genesis 7, all the way back in January of 2020. But ShinyMark wasn't finished just yet. Before even getting into top 32 at Delfino Maza, ShinyMark already had a few close sets. Mexico's best Link, Bernie, took ShinyMark to a Game 5, and Mustaine, Mexico's best Terry player, was able to keep the set competitive in their top 32 qualifier match. Now in the main bracket, his first opponent was number 22 on Lumi rank and the best Ness player in the world, Gackt. This was going to be ShinyMark's first major hurdle to overcome. Ness was seen as one of Pikachu's hardest matchups upon release, though it's progressively gotten better as Pikachu has developed. With tools to actually pressure Pikachu off stage, along with strong and lingering aerials to clash with Pikachu's shifting hitboxes, a good Ness is always a scary sight for a Pikachu player. But ShinyMark is very experienced in this matchup. He's had many encounters against Send online and even a 1-0 record against him offline, so this was an upset waiting to happen. Right away, ShinyMark was showing off what makes Pikachu so hard to fight. Tricky movement and mix-ups off stage and around the ledge at such a fast pace that Gackt was left flustered, constantly guessing on where Pikachu was going to be. An amazing sequence on the right side of the stage put ShinyMark up 1-0 and Ness packing out of Smashville. ShinyMark was relentless off stage, yet he was gaining a majority of his mileage off keeping Gackt in the corners. He simply waited for situations to become favorable, and when they did, he cashed in while never being too greedy in it. ShinyMark opened up Game 4 with a 90% lead, and Ness's disadvantages in the matchup were now glaring. When Ness is the one having to play on the offensive, he can struggle a lot. So much of his mileage comes off whiff punishes and strong play around the platforms, and ShinyMark didn't give Gackt any opportunities to find landing PK fires or falling aerials, and continued to safely pressure with his back air, turning the platform from a safe space for Ness to now constant game of Gackt second-guessing himself. On the last stock, ShinyMark was able to find an up air out of shield to close out the Ness and clocked himself a spot in winner's quarters. ShinyMark's next opponent was Europe's #1 player, Gluttony. Despite ShinyMark's lack of traveling, he's actually had the chance to face off against the king of the French dimension just last year at Smash Factor 9. ShinyMark had a couple close games in the set, but in the end, Gluttony's proficiency in the matchup led to an eventual 3-1 victory. Gluto is actually a master against Pikachu though, with an undefeated record over ESAM as well as France's Niraz and Enki. ShinyMark wanted to be the one to end that narrative. Against an explosive advantage state like Gluttony's alongside an unshakable record, ShinyMark knew he was going to have to come with a new game plan. With the way late game Ultimate has been developing,
oh my god, bro.
The approach to the game we've seen from players like Sonics and Ken, who also use very high mobility, hard to hit characters with explosive punish games as timeout characters, has been becoming more and more practical over time. Love it or hate it, this archetype of a character is actually a perfect candidate for a timeout character by nature due to their inherent evasiveness. ShinyMark recognized this, took the formula, and figured out how he was going to be able to apply it to Pikachu. And right out the gate, we saw this new tactic be put into place. Gluttony couldn't seem to catch ShinyMark. While Wario does have amazing aerial mobility, Pikachu's small frame plus quick movement made him a hard target to hit. After a Hail Mary waft on his last stock, ShinyMark was able to find the blow to end Game 1. He followed that up with another victory and was now up 2-0 on his way to winner side top 8. Gluttony came back on a mission though. He closed out a close Game 3, then 2-stock ShinyMark the following game, finishing it with a huge combo on ShinyMark's counterpick. Gluto was feeling confident at this point, but ShinyMark was just as brave. Despite what some may assume, he's a seasoned competitor and is committed to winning, no matter what it takes. Back on small battlefield, tapped into the mindset of his fellow US adjacent competitor Sonics, he was not going to let go of this lead under any circumstances. From the shortest game of the set in Game 4, we came right back with a near timeout from ShinyMark. Gluttony's patience began to dwindle in the final game, going for 2 raw wafts on different occasions throughout the game in hopes of finding a kill. But alas, ShinyMark finished out on top and added another top 15 win to his resume. In winter semis, the opponent was SkyJ, who earned his spot into top 8 by defeating a bracket demon and the GOAT of Smash Ultimate, MKLeo, in a commanding 3-0. And with that, a new challenge was presented for ShinyMark. Against a character like Incineroar, you need to deny him of his strengths, and you can either do that by playing evasive and not interacting with him, or you can go completely aggressive and not let Incineroar get a button out. Here, ShinyMark went with the latter. He was running SkyJ into the ground, and while the first 2 games started off in SkyJ's favor, once ShinyMark took the first stock, the next 2 were sure to drop in a matter of seconds. The Tom and Jerry in-game tags seemed to be revealing of the set's outcome, but SkyJ tightened up Game 3 and looked to rewrite the classic tale. He killed ShinyMark at 0% off a reversal and was now in position to use Incineroar's incredible survivability. SkyJ avoided devastating edgeguard situations and was able to take games 3 and 4. Now on the back end of getting reverse 3-0'd, ShinyMark needed to figure something new out. In the first 2 games, he was able to checkmate SkyJ off the stage with Thunder, killing him early and mitigating his use of Rage, but SkyJ got used to its full effect through the following 2 games. Both players had amazing moments throughout Game 5, but in the clutch, ShinyMark was able to use Quick Attack's favorable knockback to put SkyJ on the platform, setting up a nair to up smash conversion and concluding the Pokemon battle in Pikachu's favor.
Pop off on ShinyMark!
Now in Winter's Final, ShinyMark had pushed Pikachu into top 8. Not only did he showcase an unbelievable talent, he was also able to show off what Pikachu truly could be. His next opponent was going to be Sparg0 and appeared to be the end of the line. This was another player ShinyMark had an extensive history against online, but offline their record was heavily in Sparg0's favor, only dropping a single game between their previous 3 sets. Whether it was the pressure of getting so far or the stress that's brought along from fighting Sparg0, ShinyMark looked far from his winner's bracket form. From SDs, playing a more fearful disadvantage, and generally sloppy play, it looked like he started to figure it out in Game 3, but ended the set with a 3-0 loss. Gluttony ultimately made it back to rematch ShinyMark. After a comeback victory against Ken where he miraculously returned from a seemingly impossible scenario, Gluto was going to let no challenge stand in front of him. ShinyMark had Game 1 in the bag with a more than comfortable lead against Gluttony, yet the King of Europe refused to give up his last stock. Gluto ended up making a tremendous comeback and finished the game off with a deep waft off stage. It seemed as though Gluto had stolen all the confidence ShinyMark had in the winner's bracket. We saw Gluttony lock down the ledge, causing Pikachu to play a lot more reckless in an attempt to find a way back on stage, which led to many easy kills for Gluto. ShinyMark also SD'd on his last stock of Game 2, but with a considerable lead, Gluttony wasn't really in any position to be worried in the first place. In Game 3, the 2 traded stocks back and forth, and down to 1 stock apiece, ShinyMark opened up Gluttony with a nair loop that led to an up air ladder into fair, but ShinyMark, perhaps eager to end the game, went off stage once more to finish what he started and was caught in a reversal situation. In an attempt to regain his lost stage control back, ShinyMark left himself exposed and got hit with a classic Gluttony waft combo off a nair from ledge, closing out the set and sending Central America's #1 player home at 3rd place. While we're perhaps far away from Pikachu being the uncontested #1 threat we once thought of, ShinyMark is showing that the character is far from irrelevant. Although ShinyMark missed out on the mid-year ranking, this pair of performances in the second half of the season, his drive for improvement, and his obsession of optimization will surely earn him considerations to be placed among the greatest players in the world.
And that was it. Really a buzzer beater. ShinyMark playing it out as it should be with the pop-off. Knows that his offense...
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Thank you to our top tier patrons and YouTube members, Avishua Stein, Bobby Wasabi, Dorian, Eric is Cool, Juniper, NNG Esports, Storm, and Tingly Jungle for supporting the channel. Please let me know what you think of the content, and go watch this now. Bye.